Before the video starts, I just want to say that I have a YouTube membership where you can join for as little as 99 cents per month. I also have a Patreon too. And I want to thank you guys for following me on Instagram to reach 2,000 followers. It's pretty crazy. Alright, thank you so much.
Welcome to the world of Tales from the Trip.
Yesterday, I was reading some experience reports online about how you can get high off Benadryl and decided to give it a shot. I was home by myself for the whole day. I'm not the type of person who gets scared easily. It takes quite a lot to get me frightened, and I have no phobias. I have taken nitrous a few times, pot plenty of times, DXM once, and LSD once. I enjoyed all previous drug experiences. I was originally going to take 250 milligrams, but decided it would be better to just take 200 milligrams instead. Man, am I glad I didn't take the 250 milligrams. After about 45 minutes, my whole body started to feel very heavy, thinking how cool it would be trying to walk around like this. I got up, only to fall back down on the couch. I got back up by holding onto the coffee table and staggered into the dining room. This is when it started to go downhill. After a few minutes of being in the dining room, I heard a hissing noise, which startled the hell out of me, so I went back to the couch to sit down. Then I started to hear whispering and voices that sounded like they were laughing at me. I started getting scared shitless. I kept seeing things dart by out of the corner of my eyes, but when I looked, nothing was there. The voices started to get louder, and I curled up in a ball in the corner of the couch, yelling to make the voices stop. They wouldn't go away. I kept trying to remind myself that I'm on a drug and it would go away soon, but it didn't help. I was extremely paranoid. I needed to take a piss, so I got up and made my way to the bathroom, despite the terrifying voices I kept hearing. On my way to the bathroom, I kept looking behind me, making sure there wasn't anything there. While taking a piss, I kept looking behind myself to make sure nothing was going to creep up on me. I looked in the shower, and there was my best friend Zach grinning at me, holding a gun in his hand. I could not tell this was a fake hallucination. I thought he was really there. I tried to punch him, but when I did, he disappeared. Meanwhile, the voices continued to get louder. Tears started running down my face. I was terrified. I tried to get back to the couch, but I kept hearing whispering behind me, so I only made it as far as the kitchen when I grabbed a butcher knife off the counter and pressed my back against a nearby wall and curled up in the corner. The voices were scaring me shitless, and I kept seeing things out the corner of my eyes. I was screaming for everything to stop, and briefly thought the only way out was suicide. I almost slit my wrists. After about 4 hours, everything was over, but I was left extremely paranoid. I put the butcher knife on the counter and leant back against the wall and cried. About an hour later, my dad got home and I was calm. After dinner, I went right to bed. So here I am the next day writing about my experience. It was emotionally terrifying. Here I am at the keyboard the next day still shaking. It wasn't fun at all. The first time I ever took Datura, and my only time, was July of 2006. I remember being in the car with my friend, her boyfriend, and his 2 friends. Her boyfriend opened the pod for her, and the boy Money opened mine, so I could get my seeds out. Me and her both downed the slimy seeds, and I asked her to be driven home, just in case the experience would be worse than what I was wanting, which it was. I remember I was sitting on the computer for an hour, but to me, only felt like 5 minutes. I tried to go to bed, but would wake up in sweats, flipping my head, twitching after every 3 seconds of laying there. I went into the bathroom and wouldn't stop peeing. I started to crawl on all fours like a dog in a circle, continuously, for this was the only thing calming me down. Then I went back to my bedroom, but on the way, I fell in the hallway and slammed into my mom's bedroom door. My aunt and mom came running out of their rooms, asking me what I was on. My aunt yelled at me to lie in bed, but instead, I got on top and crawled on all fours again, and my mom was worried I had already overdosed, so they decided to drive me to the hospital. But at some point, my mom said I went back into the bathroom, and my pants were to my ankles, and blood was all over my legs because I was on my period. They said I would stand on the front lawn, looking at the headlights, saying, "Ooh, look at the pretty lights." They drove me to the hospital. When we got there, they said I was grabbing up the doctor's legs, and I swore I dropped something behind the nurse's station. I was restrained to a bed, trying to rip out my IV. They had been trying to make me drink charcoal to pump my stomach, but I kept spilling it all over myself. So they wound up pumping my stomach twice by putting the tubes down both my nostrils. I remember I hated the one nurse and continuously kept trying to punch her in the mouth. My aunt and mom would ask me what I took, and I would say, "Where's my cigarettes?" I asked my aunt for crack and cocaine for a friend, but I don't do that, and neither does she. When my mom came, I remember talking to her, and she said something to me, and I thought she was a friend, so I would keep blurting out, "You sound just like my mother." I thought Chucky was after me. I saw dead animals piled on top of each other in a corner. I kept thinking I was smoking a cig, then it would disappear. I thought my mom was talking to me through an AIM box. I thought there were twins in my room, snakes, bugs, and Dr. Seuss-looking clocks. I kept jumping out of bed, and security came and asked me to get back in, and then I would ask, "What are you doing in my room? Get out before I punch you in the face." I kept asking why my grandmother had rearranged her bedroom. Hours later, my mom finally got it out of me what I had took, and no one knew what it was, so they were all researching it. My heart almost exploded. My heart rate was 150, so I got sent to the children's hospital, where I kept thinking giraffes were in the lobby and rap music was playing. I tripped out for 2 days, and all I know is that I will never do that again. I'm still afraid to go to bed at night, thinking my heart will stop, and I'm always feeling my chest for a heartbeat. Let me start by saying that if you've never done meth before, I really advise that you don't start, because it really does change your life forever, and not in a good way. If you do, please, please watch your dose and go slow. This ain't coke. Before trying crystal meth for the first time 6 months ago, I really hadn't had much experience with drugs. Just the occasional use of pot, MDMA, and a few snorts of coke, which I didn't like. Before taking E, I had read about it extensively and made a reasonably well-educated decision about it. Why I didn't do that with meth, a much more dangerous substance, I don't really know. My first, and unfortunately, not last experience, almost ended with me dying right on my couch. The evening started with a sexual encounter with an acquaintance, who suggested that it would be really fun if we snorted some crystal to liven it up a little bit. Well, never being particularly adventurous, I decided to go out on a limb. Big mistake. After the insanely painful line that I later found out was way too big, I began noticing the effects pretty quickly. Heightened sensations, tremendous ability to concentrate on whatever I wanted, which was sex at the time. I started sweating profusely, and my heart was beating like crazy. This was awesome. I felt like some kind of sexual animal, so naturally, I wanted some more. So in less than an hour, I had snorted about 400 milligrams, which isn't a lot for a regular user, but for someone who hasn't tried it and doesn't even drink coffee, well, it wasn't pretty. A few minutes after snorting the rest, I had this pain in my chest, and I literally felt my heart start to skip beats. I tried to concentrate on the sex, which was still really amazing, and not think about what my body was telling me. Finally, the pain started to get bad, and I started to worry I was having a heart attack. So we stopped, and I sat on the couch for a while. I started getting this tingling sensation in my limbs, and my vision was getting spotty. Then, the really scary part. I started realizing that I was having difficulty breathing. I tried to call out to the girl I was with, but she couldn't hear me. The words wouldn't come out. I was pretty sure I was going to die right there on my couch. The girl I was with had bolted, and I'd sat there for about an hour. It started to get better, but the pain in my chest lasted for several days afterward. I don't really know how close I came to dying, but I really did feel myself slipping away, kind of like how the dentist puts me out. The crazy part about this story is about a week after this incident, I wanted more. I stopped thinking about how I almost died and remembered how good the sex was. I've since tried it 2 other times and monitored my use a lot more, but after calling in sick to work to, please myself for almost 18 hours with no breaks, ouch, I know, I can see that it is definitely not good for me. Unlike with E, I haven't learned anything from my experiences with Crystal. In fact, I can barely remember them because it just flew by. It was fun, don't get me wrong, but not worth it. The depression that I went through in the days after it were pretty awful. I entertained several thoughts of suicide, which really isn't like me. 4 months later, I still think about it once a day. I can definitely see how people get addicted and ruin their lives on this stuff. Be careful. If you're enjoying this video so far, please give it a like. My stomach is killing me and it hurts to record right now, so it would mean the world if you could like my shit. I was always the quiet girl, shy, timid, pure, until I met my boyfriend. He knew all about drugs, dealt them, did them, always had it on him. I had no knowledge of marijuana, didn't know what it was about, how it's supposed to affect you, nothing. I always saw him smoke and decided, what the heck, if it's not harming him, I might as well try it. He didn't have a pipe, so we used an apple. He made the little holes with a pencil and then packed it. We were in the bathroom about to take a shower. He told me the shower would feel 10 times better. Trust me. I took my first hit. Okay, nothing. Maybe it wasn't hard enough. I need to impress him. Took my second fat hit. Still nothing. 3rd time's the charm? Bam! It hit me. I felt my head bounce back. My vision got distorted. Everything was wavy. I looked at my boyfriend. I don't feel good. I need to get out. I started to walk out of the bathroom. Suddenly, I became my soul, flying up above my body, looking down upon me. I continued to walk, not knowing what the hell is going on. I jumped. My soul bounced back inside of my body. I walked to the recreational room. He stopped me and asked, "Tell me the truth. Have you ever done any other drugs?" Thinking it could have made my experience worse. I slowly shook my head. No. I looked at him as if he didn't exist. My face felt like it was melting. My jaw felt heavy. My heart was beating so fast and so hard, it felt like it was on fire, about to burst out of my chest. Everything was so faint and hazy. I don't even remember clearly that I picked up the phone and dialed 911. My boyfriend quickly hung up the phone, but then 911 had called back, asking if everything was okay. My boyfriend replies, Yeah, my girlfriend is just a little sick. Afraid of getting caught? I see. He told me to lay down on the couch and watch some cartoons to get my mind off of it. I said okay. I lay down and my body is shaking terribly, like I was having a seizure. He turns on the cartoons, I stare at it, and then become fascinated with the colors. This calmed me down. I then shake myself back into reality. My mind kept going in and out of a dream, back and forth every 5 seconds. This gave me a huge headache. He gave me something to eat, but my mouth was so dry I couldn't swallow or chew. I closed my eyes while laying down on the couch. It was pitch black, like I fell into a deep dark hole. I saw God, Satan, and me in between. They were pulling at my arms, fighting over me. I prayed like I never prayed before. I asked to, just take me now. I would do anything to get out of this feeling. I felt like I prayed for hours. Finally, I fell asleep. Don't know how I managed that. I woke up, feeling like a zombie. I asked my boyfriend, how long was I tripping out for? 2 hours. Really? Felt like 10 minutes. I experienced panic attacks and anxiety every day since the incident. 2 years later, I tried it again. After months and days of research, I asked myself, seriously, what is everyone raving about? This miracle herb? I had to give it another shot. Well, I started experiencing the same feeling as I did the first time, just not as intense. I felt stoned. I felt good, like I could do anything. This is what I was expecting all along from this plant. Hey, it's actually helping my anxiety. My advice: take one hit, preferably a small one, wait a few minutes, and see how it affects you. Getting too high my first time ruined my experience. Whatever you do, you don't want to ruin your experience. It truly is a wonder. It makes me a better person overall, makes me think unexpected thoughts, philosophically, makes me notice things that I never noticed before. My point is, don't try to control it and make yourself feel sober again. Go with the flow and smoke in a comfortable environment. I tried LSD for the first time at age 14. Peer pressure was the reason for doing so. I was with friends at a party and took the hit. After about an hour, I was feeling a bit anxious and jittery, and I noticed my visual perception was heightened, as well as my hearing. It seemed like I could hear someone sneeze from a block away. It was interesting to look at things and laugh at everything. After about 2.5 hours, I started feeling really weird and warm. I was soaked in sweat and started taking my shirt and pants off in the middle of winter. I'm in Canada, so it's cold here, without having any sensation of being cold whatsoever. I thought the sweat was rain, and it felt like summertime. Then, I started feeling very intensely paranoid. Everybody was staring at me and watching what I was doing. I thought my friends were whispering bad things about me. I even thought people in cars driving by knew I was on acid. I was panicking very badly and didn't trust anyone I was with. I felt hopeless and out of control. I felt like I was going crazy, and the feeling or highness was never going to end. It seemed like it was going to last forever. This feeling was the most horrible experience I had ever felt in my life. Everything that I looked at seemed magnified and distorted. I looked at my face and eyes in a mirror and panicked because my eyes seemed to be floating in different directions, and I could see every impurity and pore so intensely in my skin, and every little sound seemed so intense, i.e., water dripping from a tap. I was fearful, hopeless, nervously shaking, and almost called an ambulance to come and take me to the hospital. I tried to stay calm, but everything I looked at seemed as if it was breathing. A curtain covering a closed window seemed as if it was blowing in the wind. Wrinkles on a sheet seemed to swirl around like snakes. I didn't actually see anything that wasn't there, but things that were there seemed to be moving around intensely, especially from the corner of my eyes. After the trip was over, I seemed to be okay. About a month later, I was just in the mall to buy a pair of shoes, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I started panicking and feeling as if I was on the acid trip. My perception was enhanced, sounds became louder, I felt nervous, uncomfortable, and very paranoid. I dropped everything at the shoe store that I was going to buy and rushed out in a panic. It was as if I was running away from something, but I couldn't figure out what. I was too scared to share my feelings with anyone because I thought they would think I was crazy, so I lived like this for about 2 years that I can remember, all on my own. Now my life and mindset are more at a relaxed state, and I look at my traumatic experience as a lesson learned well. I personally know for a fact that my long-lasting flashback was definitely due to my previous LSD use. It was not worth the trouble that it caused me and my family. I don't remember ever feeling negative about anything before and since my LSD use, one time. It has destroyed a part of me that is greatly missed. I have become negative and depressed and now rely on 100 milligrams of Zoloft per day, forever, to keep my mind in a controllable and rational state. If it wasn't for Zoloft, I would probably be dead from suicide. I hope you all enjoyed the video. My stomach does feel a little better now, so that's good. Since you finished this video, you're either asleep or about to check out another one of my videos, so please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I would really appreciate it, as it means a lot to me. And if you're sleeping, well, am I in your head now? The tick of the clock only ticks for so long. Once that clock stops ticking, it will end forever, and you will sleep 1,000,000 years.